You, of course, being an entrepreneur or a startup founder, you must feel the need of investments, handholding that requires mentorship and every kind of guidance. So, with Business Notice, we have with us today Mr. Anuj Sharma, who is an asset allocator, and he is the founder of Alsisar Impact. So, let's welcome him to the Business Notice. Welcome, Mr. Anuj Sharma.
Thank you. It's a pleasure and proud to be part of your amazing initiative here.
So, since you are the asset allocator, you have been into the northeastern industry
Yeah.
from several years. So,
Yeah.
can you just throw a light on the whole scenario of the startups and entrepreneurs here regarding the
Absolutely.
investment?
So I've been active in Northeast for almost 12 years. It's a blessing if I put it like this. Like whenever, my whole journey of Northeast has been of something which I always carry in my chin, like that people are really amazing. The ecosystem is great. There's so much of biodiversity. The intentionality of supporting each other is very, very high. At the same time, when I look back, for some reason, there are lots of ways and means that the whole society has been let down, especially by the venture capital and private equity. And this is sometimes by design, and it is also sometimes by having a kind of an intentional bias as well, which people don't want to talk about it. But this is something which is very, very clearly available and I will say visible as well. And that's what we want to address. So at Alsisar Impact, one of the important things that we try to do is we say we want to do something called conscious bias, supporting local indigenous people across South Asia. So what we are talking about conscious bias is that we say, hey, look, if I'm in Assam, I'm only backing an Assamese local. If I'm Nagaland, I'm only backing in Naga. Same way, if I go to Kashmir, I'm only backing a Kashmiri. And why we are talking about this whole thing is that if you see the whole ecosystem of investing in India, 90% of the fund manager and more than 93% of the founders who got money from the fund managers, both sides come from same communities. That means we do not have any democratization of investing in this whole country. And we say we are third largest startup destination in the world. But at the same time, if you look around how much concentrated the wealth is, that's where we are talking about a scary scenario. We do not have equal opportunities. And if you look different, and if you are, God forbid, if you are women, and if you are having some kind of other differentiation in terms of community, your your chances of raising money diminishes very, very drastically low. So that's what we are trying to address in a conscious bias manner. Yeah.
So your company is involved in the startups of these regions. So far, what bottlenecks have you seen? You have addressed like you only support locally.
Yeah.
So what are the bottlenecks you have gone through throughout this journey here?
Yeah. So if you see, there are like thousands of incubators, accelerators, and also fund allocators which are present in Northeast. Billions of dollars come. But where it goes, nobody questions where this has gone. What is the accountability and what is the way the ecosystem has been built? Most of the time, the majority of money actually going to program management. That means it's not going and allocated to the local entrepreneur. It's for the program management or other things. Second is, we are not allowing people to have something called learning or experiential learning, if I put it like this. So in any ecosystem, if you see, when a startup is getting, getting built, there is some element of, I will say, learning curve. That means some startup will take funding, grow, but they may also stop. That means we call as failing. But I will say in the startup ecosystem, either you succeed to a certain extent or you learn. There's nothing called failure. But the tolerance level of investors, community is very, very low when you talk about Northeast. First of all, they are biased. Second is they are talking about that we do not want the entrepreneurs to fail. But entrepreneurs are humans. We are having lots of different ecosystems with that we are having pressurized with or influenced with as well. So what we have experienced as Alsisar Impact is that Northeastern people are very much sensitive about the cultural roots. They're also sensitive about the empathy that they need to have with the society, and they would like to see that when they are growing, can their own society can go together as well. Now, in a idealistic world, that's the best quality. But for a venture or a private equity world, that's not something good because they say winner take it all. That means if I am winning, I will take away everything. But here, if I'm an entrepreneur, let's say I'm working in bamboo. There's another entrepreneur which is working in bamboo. Two are there. They will still talk. They will still go to their houses, each other. They will still dine together because they are friends. But if you see in terms of the so private equity VC, they say, "Oh, you are my competitor. I should not talk to you. I should not dine with you. I should not have any kind of connect with you." That's where the Northeast has a very different kind of a, I will say, sensibility, cultural understanding, and that's where one of the important thing I will say, which people feel is bottleneck, is we need more patient capital and patience of our time to understand Northeast. So if I need to be in Northeast, first of all, I need to be prepared to be living here. Living, when I say, is experience the culture, experience the air, experience the food. If you are empathetic towards the culture and food and air, and also the biodiversity, you will see that there's so much amazing wealth which is there, and that wealth has to be co-created. It cannot be one-sided. So that's something which we feel is kind of lacking in terms of the understanding. And many times we have very less role models as well. So if you see how many local role models are there, we get plethora of startup events, big events, like I will say national, global, all kinds of things. But we are the local faces. Very few local faces are there. And if we don't find good business role models in terms of startups, how on earth our kids will be inspired? I cannot have a Flipkart founder coming here and talking about Flipkart, which is a $20 billion company, which is pan India in certain ways, but it is just a trading model, making me understand that trading model is the only thing. And for that, you need to learn from me. But we are not talking that can we learn from northeastern sensibility and culture. So the reverse thing is just not happening. And for some reason, most of the fund managers, if I put it like this, hardly any fund manager are from northeast, and hardly we have started because we have not got that kind of patience, and also the capital has not been allocated directly for an investing purpose. We have lots of grant cases. One of the most, I will say, challenging thing in Northeast, if you ask me, is we are very fascinated about micro entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands and lakhs of micro entrepreneurs are there. But have we ever asked the donors or funding agencies what happened to the micro entrepreneurs afterwards? So I give a case. Let's say there are like 10,000 women. There was a big project which happened, and lots of big, like crores and crores of rupees were invested for training 10,000 women in tailoring. They were trained fine. They were giving the sewing machine as well. But then after that, they abandoned the business. What happened to them? Now you've given them a hope. You have given them something very, very critical. That is called hope in terms of saying that, hey, look, you could be sustainable. You could be a SME, small and medium enterprise. We are giving you help. We are giving you skills, technical know-how, and money. But then you withdrew everything from there. That is not right. Like this is much more bigger, I will say, cruelty to the local ecosystem where you're giving them hope. You are saying that I am with you, but then you abandon them and you only cover them in glossy reports. And that's called impact. So for impact, big foundations, what they're saying is we need large impact, we need large numbers. But have they even attempted to see that out of that hundreds and thousands and lakhs of micro entrepreneurs, somebody has emerged so strong that they don't need funding or they don't need grants? Can they sustain themselves? And there's no effort for that. So they are charity case, but they are not investing case.
Yeah, very well, portrayed the whole
Thank you.
scenario of the startup here, and especially northeastern region is quite less considered in a whole nation. Still,
Yeah.
it's lagging behind somewhere. There is some kind of place that we are not considered. So, anyways, coming to the point,
Yeah.
there are a lot of government schemes, central government schemes, state
Yeah.
government
Yeah.
schemes, lot of fundings are there. Probably other angel investors also come here, but where do you think we are not tapping into the right point, or what's the thing that we should actually look for?
So if you see in 1980s, we had a famous statement by our prime minister of that time that from the central government 100 rupee comes, but only 2 rupees goes to the beneficiary. In startup world, 2 rupees is also not coming. So it just get lost in between, and we don't have any accountability. So first of all, we need to see how many are led by locals, the initiatives. And if I'm not local led, how will I even understand the culture? And second is stop considering that Northeast is a consumption economy. Stop it. Now that's the mentality of most of the India, that Northeast is consumption economy. They are dependent on grants. They are dependent on money which is sent by as a grant. That's not at all right. Let me put it very clearly. Northeast, if you ask, has close to 50% of Indian indigenous forest area. Northeast has one of the maximum, close to 40% of good soil area of India. We don't use fertilizer. You don't use pesticide. You have indigenous forest. This is the lungs of India. But what you are getting in return? People are saying that we are sending you money, but you don't have the power to generate. The reason we are not having is because we have to conserve our natural resources. We need to also preserve our lakes, our biodiversity. Now, rhinos, if you say, people say there are just few thousand rhinos. Why so much of money is getting allocated? Now, you don't tell it that rhinos is not just about tourism. Rhinos is about a very important biodiversity ecosystem that it is having the value chain. The elephants, rhinos, and lots of other animals, they are the chain of the larger ecosystem that we have. And that is why Northeast is so precious. But we are not valuing it. And that is also one of the reasons that when I'm talking about somebody like I coming from Bombay, I will not understand what Northeast is unless I stay here. I go to the locals and I try to understand what is in their mind, and also tailor make the solutions for them. And that is something which, if I see in a larger ecosystem, is lacking. Now, Northeast, if you ask, the total Northeast ecosystem is less than $100 billion. Now, go to Delhi. Delhi ecosystem or a city, just Delhi, is far more bigger. Now, if I talk about, let's say, Northeast, you have good air,
Yeah.
you have good water, you have good food, right? Go to Delhi, the kids, if I'm a kid, God forbid, if I'm a kid growing in Delhi, just see the scenario. In summers, I can't go out because the temperatures touch more than 50 degrees. And if I'm in winters, I can still not go out because the pollution is so high. So it's still, you say Delhi is more expensive, and a place like Northeast, which has blue sky, turquoise water, and fresh food, which is just, it's not just organic, it's natural, naturally organic, is not valued. So, and the other side is most of the raw materials, which are the virgin products of Northeast, are purchased at the farm level at dirt cheap price, and they are valuated by different kind of people, and that is sold at 100 times of that value. But what Northeast get? Nothing.
So, where are the what are the startups you have been through? Can you name the startups where
Yeah,
LCSR has been
yeah,
uh, helping them
yeah.
in any way?
So there are lots of startups. Let me give, like, we have women-led and owned startups. We have one entrepreneur is into skincare. Now one entrepreneur is into education. One entrepreneur is into food businesses. One entrepreneur is into a super food category as well. Another entrepreneur is into logistics, so on and so forth. So if I put like this, in Sikkim, we have an entrepreneur called Agapi Sikkim, which is at the forefront of skincare. The 100% natural skincare brand from the Himalayas. One of the most purest form of natural skincare you have, handcrafted, handmade. The same way, we have a great, like I will say, northeastern led startup which is called Any Origins, which is primarily promoting the local and indigenous like food products to the outside world. Same way, we have a education company, really amazing, called Naga, and they have rooted at the Naga culture, and they are talking about revolutionizing the way the education system should be going to the next level. Same way, we have a Mizoram company called Tui Born Naturals with a brand name called Local Natural Soda. They are India's first 100% natural soda startup. And all of them, which I'm talking, they're indigenous people from that place. And the reason why they are so different is that we are talking about four different categories of people. The way we support is, one is they need to be local. Second is they need to have an impact mindset. That means they should be cognizant or empathetic about the communities that we work with. Third, very important, is that they need to be growth oriented. So if they are small and sweet, it's good, it's beautiful, they are very good. But if they are comfortable with the growth, then that's where we can come in. And fourth, very important, they need to be resilient. And resilience for us is very simple. Now, if you see the ECG graph, like in the hospital, ECG graph is oscillating. So we say this is life, right? If it is constant, we die. So we want an entrepreneur who is comfortable into the resilience, and that's what is very much in abundance in Northeast. Because you have seen struggles in everything. Just see in northeastern capitals, are they connected? Like if I have to go from Imphal to Kohima, it's more easier to go to Delhi and then come to Dimapur. That's a easier thing than going by road. Or the same way, if I have to go to, let's say, Aizawl and well, like I will say Dimapur, the road network is not there. I have to take a flight out in Calcutta or Delhi and then come back. So connectivity is very, very bad, and it is also by design. But that also means that if I have to take the raw material out from here, then it is very easy. But if I have to connect people, then it becomes difficult. So there's something which is missing, and that is also points to the larger thing that the northeastern economy, which is close to $100 billion, majority of that is owned by outsiders or controlled by outsiders. Fair, let them have it. But if it is not with the local people, how on earth they will be able to preserve their local ecosystem? Because that's the only thing they have. So if I'm talking about a farmer, which is in a local indigenous farmer here in Assam, for them it is life. But for a person from coming from outside, it's just a commodity. So we need to have a differentiation of that whole thing. And when we are talking about road models, and the names which I just gave as an example, they are the road models for the future, and they need to be in the room, not me. And once they become bigger, when they show that there is a possibility, when they show that there is a hope, others will come.
So you have obviously be in the startups and all. So which kind of startup can play a very important role in the northeastern region?
So if you see one of the three things we focus on, and I think that is something which is ingrained to Northeast, and it could be the world leader in three things: fresh food, fresh water, and fresh air.
Yeah.
Northeast could be the global leader. And I can tell you a simple example, like if I go to Mizoram, it is more greener than any part of South Asia. It's greener than Bhutan, it is greener than Nepal, it is greener than Kerala, it is greener than Goa, any single place of India, it is greener than that. In spite of that, Mizoram economy is just $4 billion. But if I go to Singapore, it is $4 billion, 400 billion, 10, 100 times. And Singapore does not produce a single thing. It's just a trading hub. So I would like to talk about that can producers, Northeast is a producer, and the definition has to change. Northeast is a producer, we need to emphasize, we need to talk about the stories of producer thing. We need to build brands, and the brands needs to be global. So local for global has to be there, and we need to find a way that the local entrepreneurs have a say in the global ecosystem. Like if I put like this one entrepreneur of us, we consciously, with a bias, we took her to New York. She was in the Times Square. And the reason we wanted to prove a point is that the global ecosystem should hear what is Northeast. We don't even know. They don't need. They don't actually know where is Assam. They don't know where is Mizoram. They don't know where is Sikkim. In spite of that fact that one of the biggest legendary musician, or let's say the artist from our side, was Bhupen Hazarika, right? And all of us like swear by him. But after that, can we have the same kind of Bhupen Hazarika example in startup? We need that.
Yeah, very
Yes.
briefly stated about
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah.
how a startup can be sustainable, not just in northeastern region, in the entire market of India or outside the world, outside India.
So we keep having lots of TAM, SAM, and lots of like confusing terms. Let me put it like this: Excel sheet is the most easiest thing I can have. Like I can hire MBAs and get my Excel sheets, and I can get the valuations in any single form, or I can have very good PPTs. But if you see in the traditional model of startup investing, the financial model plays a big role, the good pitch deck plays a big role, and also the good English.
Yeah.
Three things plays the most role. But is that the fundamental of business? I will not say. It is like a lottery system today. The investor is trying to put in 10, and they say one will become a billionaire and will get recovery of 9. What if we change the model and say, hey, look, let all 10 grow together? But for that, you need to be talking about the fundamental business models. Fundamental business model means it should be connected to the roots, to the community. It should give back to the community in some way. It should make profits for sure. It will make profit. All of us pay to buy hundreds of different things to consume. Why not? That startup has a business model which is ingrained in terms of making revenue and being sustainable. It's there. The business models are existing, we all survive. But today if you see, majority of startups are talking about just trading models. Where are the producer models? We are diminishing the producers, so at some point of time farmers will stop farming. Then what trading models will do? Nothing, because we'll not have any productions.
It's kind of a traditional method we have to follow, like the
Yeah.
early businessmen, what they used to do
Yeah.
about the trading and connecting with the roots and the outside world.
Yeah. So if you see in Northeast, like if I talk about an indigenous person like Anapar Assam, one amazing case which I remember, which is very similar to in Karnataka as well, the indigenous people do it. Like if I go and try to collect honey, lots of honey is there in the forest. It's a forest produce. They will go inside the forest, they will collect honey, but they will keep the half beehive alive. They will not pluck it. They will only take half of it. They will not take pluck for the full beehive. Why? Because they want the bees to also eat their own food. They don't want to kill the bees. So that is what we say is win all. You also win, I also win. And in that whole ecosystem, if I'm talking about, that is missing in the majority of the businesses we are talking as a startup. Now, if a startup cannot have a social impact or social justice, they should not exist. So, future of business, if you ask me, is only two types. Either it will be social, or the opposite of it is anti-social. There's no other definitions of any startup. We cannot be having an anti-social startup. So if you are talking about social, that means it needs to have some element of social well-being, social justice, social impact, at the same time economic resilience of local indigenous people.
So earlier you stated like why can't the producers be the trading hub? So how would you like to state it? Like how we can be the trading hub just like the other Southeast Asian countries?
So if you ask, like I'll take one example. In Meghalaya, we have Lekdong turmeric, which is like a world famous. Why we have to sell Lekdong turmeric as raw? It will here you will get Lekdong turmeric at 50 rupees kg. You ask in Bombay, it is more than 1,000 rupees, and if you go out of India, it will come like $100 plus. So that means we need to value add Lekdong turmeric here. At the same time, we need to build a brand around Lekdong turmeric by local person. So unless the producers are not encouraged to build brands of their own and show a global outlook, it's not going to happen. People say packaging problem hai. People say there's a problem business model. People say the problem is with respect to presentation. It's very easy to solve. I can hire different people to solve this. And that's what the enablers should have done. But if you see, in spite of so much of plethora of enablers, it is not going to the next level, the ecosystem, because they do not have an intentionality to see the local people grow. So there is a bias that local people should remain small. And that's not nice. It's not good. So we need to have some way that our kids should have a chance to grow and thrive. And they should be ambitious. Why not? If they are not ambitious, then who will be? And in that form, if you ask, brand building is a very important thing. So that's something which we have to teach our kids from school, not even college. Yeah.
So here is the question like when can Northeast be at par with other states of India to come to such level of startup ecosystem and be the brand, be the hub for every kind of business? So we have heard it out loud from the founder of Alsisar Impact, Mr. Anuj Sharma, who literally gave an insightful view of this whole scenario. Thank you so much, Mr. Sharma, for joining us today.
My
Thank you.
pleasure. And I hope like northeastern economy is not it's 100 billion. We should talk about how it could be 1 trillion in the next 5 years. We should be very, very clear, take a goal and beat it up. We should not talk about 100 will become 120. It's not a 20% growth. We should talk about how can we make 10 times, 20 times more. And believe me, if because you have everything on your side, you are the best natural resource, you are the best water resource, you are the best biodiversity, you are the best people because they are community driven. You just need the direction and believe in yourself that you can make it happen. And you will do it. Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Mr. Sharma.
Yes, thank you.